Are you going through spiritual awakening and you don't know if you what you are doing and how to deal with it? Because in this video I'm gonna share my spiritual awakening journey, and I'm gonna give you insights of what I have been through, that in which that you might feel that you're not alone. And of course you are not alone. So many people are awakening this in the past few years and these days also too. So uh, my spiritual awakening started, well, at first in 2012, based on the David Hawkins chart. I was in the fear state. Okay, I was super scared from everything, from people gonna hurt me, from people are like trying to be against me and they want to hurt me, and that I am not safe, and that everyone is trying to get something from me. So the fear was the driver back in 2012. Okay, and in 2015 I moved to the courage level. So the courage level is the courage. If you don't know the David Hawkins chart, the the courage level is the in between the lower frequencies and the higher frequencies. So in that year 2025, I decided that this is enough. I'm gonna take the lead of my life and I'm gonna change it. Okay, and in that year what I did, I wanted to leave my home country. I wanted to live at any cost. Okay, and that's when I started applying for masters in a foreign country. And in 2018 I got the scholarship and I went to that country to pursue my masters. And that's when things started to shift. That's when I felt like I was missing a lot and I was like in a box when I was in my home country. And then that year when I started discovering myself, what I like, what I don't like, what I um, like, what are the beliefs that support me, what are the beliefs that limiting me, and the people, what kind of people do I like, what kind of food I do like. Because when I was in my home country I was like trapped in a box in which that I was like suffocating and didn't know who I am. So that change helped me a lot to start this self-discovery journey. And then what happened is that in 2020, so I finished my studies, and then in 2020 I started the PhD degree. So that year where everything started to shift and everything started to come to life and come to surface. That year where I got the rheumatoid arthritis, the second episode. The first episode was in 2017. That year where I gained weight more than 20 kg in just few months. That year where I started learning about mental health, where I started learning and knowing what is it called of what self-healing calls, and what are and how to process our emotions. So that year was a very drastic year in a way that I have learned a lot about myself, and I have experienced so many things, like bad things in my life, which led me to dig deeper into the root causes of those events. And that year also I was so scared. And that year actually I was living with a partner where I felt like it was duplicated the same it was duplicating the same environment in my home country, controlling person, and like I was living in fear, and I was walking on eggshells, blah blah blah. So the same environment repeated itself. That's when I was like, when I noticed this pattern, and I was like, this has to stop, I have to break this cycle. And in 2020, I moved from that place into my own place. That was the first time I had my own apartment. I I discovered how safe feels like, and I discovered how I do things with my own, and how I cook myself, and how I take care of everything in the apartment itself. So it was a very beautiful year, and spiritually it was also a very intense year. Okay, in which that I started dig deeper in the subconscious, and started to process the emotions. There were so many, like, too much tears, too much, like, trying to figure out, why am I doing this, what's my purpose, where I am, and what I can do to this world, why I'm here in this life. So all these existing questions started to pop up in that particular year. And looking back now, I knew that that year was the main year of starting the shift, and starting to dig deeper in my inner world. And because I was alone in that apartment, that was a bonus for me to take time to have to hold space to my emotions, and to be myself, to express myself, and to express my emotions in a safer way. So that year was the year where the self-healing started, and the inner healing started. And then things happened, and I was like asked to evacuate and evicted from that apartment. And then I moved to another apartment. And in 2013, that's when things 2023 in 2023, when I moved to a new place, that's when things start crumbling. That's when I lost my job as a tutor at the university. That's when I lost everything, all the pennies, all the money that I had. That's where I lost the control of my life. That's when I lost everything, and even the friends, even every single body. I was alone. And looking back now, I know that was the kind of the universe was pushing me to be isolated, so that I can work deeper in my in my feelings, and in healings, and in processing my feelings. So yeah, so the thing that I was doing, in the mistake, I would say, that I was doing in that year, which is 2023, was that I was controlling. I was trying to grab things from falling. And looking back, I was like, I shouldn't have done that. But at that moment, I was panicking, because everything was crumbling, everything that was falling. And that's year when I learned to surrender, actually. So this is the other extreme. So the one extreme, or one spectrum, is controlling and trying to grab everything, and the other thing is to let everything be in a way that I don't care. And the neutral place is to surrender and to go with the flow, okay, without resistance, and without being like so relaxed, in a way that you don't care about whatever is going on in your life. So that year when I learned how to process this fear of losing control, fear of losing the place that I was in, fear of losing the money, fear of losing my friends that I met during my study, and feeling of losing my job. Imagine all this awakening was this awakening happened while I was studying the PhD. So imagine the stress I was in, the study stress and this spiritual stress, I would call it. So in 2024, that's when things reached the peak, where everything, literally everything collapsed. I didn't have money in my bank account. I kept eating like popcorn and water just to fuel my body. I didn't have anything, and I didn't have money. I just had like few quids in my account. So 2024 was very intense. I would sleep at night crying and want me to give up because I couldn't handle it anymore. And I would wake up like a different person, a person who is ready to tackle things all over again. I was surprised. So looking back at this year, at these days, I was surprised like I kept asking myself what motivated me back then. Why did I keep going over and over? Why didn't I give up? I still don't know the answer, but I think that it's more this is more about like a soul level kind of initiation, in which that my physical body and my limit mind cannot comprehend it. Okay, so it was like it's as if it was like my soul telling me that no, you're gonna get through this. There is no way around. You need to go through it. Okay, and this is what a spiritual awakening. There is no shortcut. You need to go through all of it without a shortcut. So in that year, I started embodying the trusting and surrendering, and let universe do whatever it needs to do at that time, and to receive the guidance from my guides and from my higher self. And that's where I started developing remembering my spiritual gifts. And that's where my intuition heightened. That's where I started seeing visions about things that gonna happen in the future. That's when I learned about myself. That's where I learned the human design, and that's when I decided to put my business at pause. Okay, because the business was one of the things that I was trying to grab and trying to control, and then I let it, because I was like trying to I would say to how to say it. So it was the business. It wasn't meant to happen or to launch at that time, but I was trying to do that for it to make it be alive. I don't know the term in English, but anyways, so that's why I tried to join courses, join programs, in order for me to revive, yes, this is the word, to revive the business that was dying back then. Okay, and then in 2024, that's the year where I decided like, okay, so I'm gonna put the business aside for now until I deal with whatever is happening in my life. So at that year, I lost the place that I was in, and then I moved to my friend's place, and I wasn't happy there. And there were so many lessons to learn when I moved to my friend's house. And then in 2025, that's when, at the end of 2024, that's when the nomad style or gypsy style started, in which that I lost my place, and I started like hopping from one place to another. Like every month I would would shift places, and I would move of places every single month. So it was a very difficult year for me. That's why I said that's where it reaches the peak. So it was very difficult for me to move from one place to another, because that reminded me of the childhood. Because during childhood, during the first, I would say 12 or 10 years, I we moved a lot, like maybe 5 or 6 houses during my first 10 years. So that's means like every 2 years we moved houses. So that took me back to that memory, to not having a stable place, not having a stable home, or a place that I can call home, where I can make memories, where I can grow up in. Okay, and I worked through those emotions as well. And the fact that I was moving from one place to another, that that reminded me of the fear of rejection. So the fear of rejection popped up at that stage, like very intensively. And I worked on that feeling, because I felt like the people are rejecting me, not loving me, and I wasn't accepted the way I am. And again, these emotions was rooted in my to my childhood, and then I kept releasing those emotions. What helped me a lot in this spiritual awakening and the processing emotions is that in 2020 I started learning the spiritual the healing, emotional healing modalities. That's when I became a certified mindset coach. So I learned a lot about the healings. So being isolated alone in a place where I was like tackling this um, dark night soul and all the spiritual awakening and all the heightened emotions, being mindset coach and having these tools or healing techniques in at my build, that helped me a lot to process these emotions when nobody was there. So I'm so grateful that I took that leap. Well, at the bigger picture, it was planned. Anyways, so this is what happened in 2025, where I started embodying the surrendering, and I started to trust that this is meant to happen. This spiritual awakening was meant to happen during that time in that country while I was doing the PhD degree. And then things again started collapsing, and then I went back home into my home country. And in my home country, it was the intensity of the emotion was a bit less than when I was when it was in 2024. But the thing is that I kept moving from one place to another. Again, that triggered the instability, that triggered the feel of rejection again. And then I worked at a deeper level to process those emotions and to be at peace with whatever happened during my childhood. And then in 2026, at the beginning of it, things started to forming. Things started to calm in a way that I took the deep breath, like a very deep breath, that in a way that finally quietness is here, there is no more collapsing. And 2026 was the year when I started forming the new identity, when I started showing the new identity as a result of all the healings that I have done throughout the past, how many years? 4, 5 years. So it was, for me personally, it was an intense journey. And of course, each one of us will experience it differently based on their soul's purpose and their life's path. So now, and since things that that have come, th- since things have calmed down now, and I have completed my degree, I have graduated, so I decided to relaunch the business itself. Okay, and it felt right at the beginning, when it was like when 2022, it wasn't the right time for the business to be launched, and that's why it wasn't meant to escalate at that time. But now it's thriving, the business is thriving, and I can feel it in my bones that if I would have done it before, it won't be the successful as it is now. So this is an invitation for everyone who is going through the spiritual awakening. First, not to rush the results. I was that person who would like try to get quick results because I just want to get out of that situation. And when it comes to soul's awakening, it's not about the timing, it's more about what you are doing inside of you and how much you are giving yourself time to process the emotions and to become the person that you want to that you are meant to be. All right. And the second thing is to surrender and to trust. This is, I learned it the hard way. So surrendering and trusting is one of the main things that helped me to let things flow and to start receiving guidance, and start to receiving help from others, from people around me. I remember back in 2024, one of my neighbors came and checked on me. She was like, I haven't seen you in weeks, so are you doing okay? And I felt like that she was like an angel sent from heaven, because I needed somebody to check on me, because I was, imagine that you are like in that rabbit hole, that black hole, and you were alone dealing with your emotions. And she came and reminded me of the value of my existence and that I was missed in the real world. And that actually fueled me to get out of this deep hole and try to get to the other side of the tunnel, of the spiritual awakening tunnel. So surrendering and the trust, that's the only thing that I'm gonna focus on if I had to go through spiritual awakening again. It helped me a lot. It helped me a lot to regulate my nervous system, not to panic. And it helped me to trust that what I'm going through is gonna pass. Nothing is steady. Everything is gonna change. Change is the one constant thing in this life. So if you are going through any spiritual awakening, I would invite you to trust and surrender, and to equip yourself with the healing modalities, because at some point you will be stuffed in a corner. The universe will put you in a corner where there is no one there, just you. And that's when you rise. The more and the depth you go through, and the more intense your emotions were, and the more depth the hole you were in, the higher you're gonna get at the end of that. So this is my story with the spiritual awakening. What is yours? I would love to hear it. Let me know in the comment.